It's all thanks to these two ordinary pieces of silicone. Hugh broke the fear illusion created by the ghost eye. But looking at his good brother Dennis strangling him in front of him, Hugh decided to revert to an earlier save point to rescue him. He even reminded Dennis that the ghosts inside were all illusions. As long as he overcame his fear, he could safely get out. Hugh tried several times. Although he could quickly get rid of the eerie dream, no matter how many times he reminded Dennis and the others, they were ultimately unable to overcome the fear in their dreams and ended up strangling themselves to death. After multiple deaths and resets, Hugh keenly realized that the dream was completely fabricated out of thin air by the ghost. Moreover, each person's dream is different. In other words, they can only rely on themselves to decipher their dreams. At this moment, Dennis tightly strangled his own neck. His face was filled with terror. He even began to twitch continuously. He was on the verge of suffocating. Hugh quickly pried open his hands, allowing him to breathe freely. Hugh pushed Dennis. "Wake up!" Dennis's face was still ashen, continually letting out painful groans, showing no signs of waking up. Hugh directly slapped Dennis, causing his head to hit the floor. Immediately, dozens of slaps followed. But no matter how much they hit Dennis, he didn't wake up. Hugh used his trump card. He kicked Dennis in the vital area. Dennis clutched his groin in pain. His whole body couldn't stop trembling. His face was full of pain, but he still didn't wake up. Hugh scratched his head. "Can't wake him up even like this? Looks like I'll have to use that trick." Immediately, Hugh pulled out his scalpel. It glinted coldly as he walked towards Dennis. He raised his hand and swung the knife toward Dennis's leg. He directly stabbed it into his thigh, even resorting to using Hugh's pain ability, trying to overcome fear with the power of pain. Dennis's expression became more pained, continuously wailing internally, "Hugh, please spare me." But he just couldn't wake up. 2.5 seconds later, Dennis's head tilted to one side, completely losing all signs of life. This scene shocked Hugh. Even the power of agony was of no use. He desperately wanted to revive Dennis. "Dennis, what exactly can be done to save you?" Hugh decided to try one last method. If he still couldn't wake him, he would have to give up. He then slashed his own neck, causing rebirth once more. Hugh continuously pondered ways to save Dennis. "Hugh, last night I dreamt of a ghost pressing on me. And it was a beautiful woman in a white dress. The ghost pressing on me felt soft and incredibly comfortable. However, just when I was about to kiss her, the dream suddenly ended. When I get out, I must find a woman to thoroughly enjoy myself." Hugh was speechless. Even near death, still thinking about women. At that moment, Hugh suddenly thought of a good idea. Although Dennis was introverted and timid, his most distinctive feature was his extraordinary lewdness. Facing the female ghost doctor, he fearlessly touched her, unable to escape the fear of the illusion, then use another, stronger instinctive emotion to overcome it. Immediately, Hugh told Dennis to turn on his phone and set the volume to maximum. Dennis was stunned for a moment. "Hugh, what do you want to do?" "Play that movie of yours, Teacher's Private Lessons After School. Dennis was instantly startled and embarrassed. "Aw? Isn't this inappropriate?" A teacher appeared in his mind, standing in the classroom. A voluptuous, juicy teacher was wearing a tight uniform. Her proud twin peaks were revealed in front, tightly wrapped by a black bra. "Dennis, you made a mistake on this question. Stay behind, and the teacher will slowly tutor you. When you find yourself in an illusion, you might as well take out the short video on your phone and turn the volume to the maximum. You will be able to break the illusion and escape." In order for his good brother to escape, Hugh thought of a special method in the mysterious realm. Dennis blushed with embarrassment and nervousness. He stuttered, "Hugh, are you joking?" "If you want to watch, you have to wait until we escape. Playing it out loud in public is no different from defecating on the street," Hugh said seriously. "I'm not joking. This is to save your life. Release it immediately." Dennis, seeing Hugh's serious expression, had no other choice but to take out his cherished movie collection from many years. When the BGM started playing, the eerie atmosphere dissipated quite a bit. Everyone couldn't help but feel curious to see what was inside. They saw a female teacher holding a ruler. "Quick, lie down. You made a mistake on the problem. You're going to get a spanking," Hugh said carefully. "Dennis, you have to watch intently. Immerse yourself fully in the character from the movie. Get excited about it. When you enter the illusion later, no matter what happens, don't pay attention to it. Just close your eyes and fantasize about the upcoming plot." Dennis was overjoyed. "Don't worry, Hugh. When it comes to fantasizing about plots, I'm a pro," Hugh said to the other two. "You both should also use what interests you the most to divert your attention and overcome fear." But they don't have such obvious characteristics like Dennis. They also don't know what to do. They can only watch action movies with Dennis. From this, it can be seen that everyone might like different things. However, nobody has any objections to short films. As the plot of the short film continues to develop, the corridor fills with an ambiguous atmosphere. The sound of the beauty's heavy breathing and the slapping sound reach their ears. Everyone's heartbeat accelerates. Dennis gets more and more engrossed with the continuous visual and auditory stimulation. The fire of desire rages directly. The whole person is immersed in the roles of the short clips. "I don't know how to do this problem. I still want you to teach me again. Let's change our position." 2.5 minutes later, seeing Dennis was burning with desire, Hugh felt the time was right. "It's about time. Dennis, let's go." Please remember, after entering, no matter what bizarre events you encounter, constantly remind yourself that they are all fake. Even if the dream feels extremely real, as long as you find a flaw and don't fear, you won't die. Seeing that the preparations are almost done, whether it succeeds or not is up to them. Subsequently, Hugh once again led everyone towards the depths of the passage. Entering the passage, Hugh quickly deciphered the dream and came out. He looked at the others. The other two colleagues, just like before, seemed to have encountered something terrifying in the dream. They died with expressions of fear on their faces. Hugh looked solemn. He hoped Dennis could make it through this time. To save him, Hugh had died and restarted over 10 times. He tried every possible way. All that could be done were these. The rest depends entirely on Dennis. Dennis appeared terrified, but there was also a lewd expression on his face. A firm, erect tent formed beneath him. He continuously tore his shirt to shreds. He even extended his lewd tongue, maniacally licking something. As expected of Dennis, even if it's a female ghost, he dares to go directly for it. At this moment, Hugh noticed a slight anomaly. He sensed it through spirituality. Unexpectedly, there were spirituality fluctuations in Dennis's body, who was crazily thrusting. Hugh was horrified. Could it be that Dennis was about to ignite spirituality? And it was happening while he was screwing a ghost. This is a captivating and action-packed film. Men can rely on her to break through the eerie illusions. Even during the process of thrusting, he breaks through to become a spirit master. Immersed in the dream, Dennis thoroughly enjoyed it. He had a lecherous and satisfied expression on his face. After being single for 20 years, he finally had a pleasurable experience in his dream. The next second, he suddenly opened his eyes. His waist suddenly exerted force, and he sprang up from the ground. He shouted, "Don't run! I'll let you enjoy it one more time." He immediately realized something was wrong. The classroom had just disappeared. They had also turned into Hugh Dennis. Turning to Hugh, he asked, "Hugh, is this the emergency exit? Did I successfully escape?" But Hugh did not respond to him. He was truly speechless about Dennis's escape journey. He then turned and walked towards the passage exit. Since Dennis had already escaped the dream, it was time to leave. Seeing that Hugh did not respond to him, Dennis suddenly assumed a defensive posture. "Are you Hugh? Come here and let me pinch you." Hugh raised his hand to push Dennis away. You've finally grown some brains, Dennis. Although not much. To prove it wasn't an illusion, Hugh revealed some of Dennis's little secrets. The allure of the white tiger. Business trip with the minister. The boss who got drunk. Avatar. Dennis hurriedly rushed to stop Hugh. Hugh, stop talking. You actually peeked at my phone. Hugh sidestepped to avoid him. Dennis stumbled and fell to the ground. He looked up. He saw both of his colleagues bleeding from their 7 orifices, as if they had experienced something extremely horrifying. Dennis was so frightened that he quickly retreated and collapsed to the ground. Did Hugh and the others die in the dream? Hugh responded calmly. Yes. Subsequently, they arrived at the exit door. Dennis, let's go, Hugh said as he slowly pushed open the door. The eerie asylum was finally coming to an end. The light from outside shone through, warmly illuminating both of them. As the light continued to dispel, the darkness receded like a tide, gradually revealing the scene of the real world. Hugh and the others appeared on the tree-lined avenue next to the company. Escaping from the mysterious realm, Dennis was filled with excitement after surviving the ordeal. Great, Hugh, we finally made it out. Yeah, we really made it out. Hugh looked up at the sky. He was quite certain they had escaped from the mysterious realm mental hospital, because he saw the streets filled with hideous and terrifying ghosts. Then he asked Dennis, Did you activate the spirituality? Dennis was stunned. Spirituality? Indeed, there was a strange feeling just now in the illusion. I seemed to have turned into Superman. Not only did my senses become sharper, but my strength also increased. Hugh wasn't surprised. After all, we touched thighs together before. It's easy to awaken spirituality. He even felt happy for Dennis. What ability did you awaken? Dennis perceived for a long time without any discovery. I can't perceive anything. Could it be that I have no abilities? Hugh was silent, because he himself didn't understand spirit masters either. Hugh, what is your ability? My ability is to foresee the future. I have a clear understanding of what will happen in the future. Dennis was stunned. What? Foresee the future? No wonder you knew which path was the safest in the mysterious realm. Hugh nodded. He wanted to obtain cultivation resources through the Spirit Master organization. Because his desire to become stronger was very intense, he had to raise his own value to obtain resources and quickly become powerful. Then seek revenge against the ghosts. Eliminate all the ghosts. Especially my dearest wife. I will certainly repay you well. This is a voluptuous and charming female teacher. Although she doesn't know how to teach, she understands how to nurture people. Dennis finally escaped the illusion through the teacher. Immediately, he followed Hugh out of the psychiatric hospital. Looking at the sky full of ghosts, Hugh was sure that this time they had really escaped. He even claimed to have awakened the ability of foresight. I have already seen the future. Because Hugh wanted to gain the resources of the Spirit Master organization. Only by demonstrating the value of one's abilities can one obtain more resources. Hugh looked at the White Willow Academy in front of him. Clearly, he could sense a mental hospital embedded within the sales office, but he couldn't see a trace of it. Could it be because the mental hospital has merged into the real world, hence being obscured by the real scenery? Fortunately, this time it was just a ghost that created illusions and didn't have any offensive capabilities. If it were other ghosts guarding the door. Even though Hugh has the ability to rewind death, he would probably be trapped to death in the mental hospital. In the face of the absolutely powerful ghost, even being reborn 1,000 or 10,000 times would be futile. Hugh looked at Dennis, who had lit up spirituality and become a spirit master. He was completely unresponsive to the sky full of ghosts. Dennis, can you see the ghosts in the sky? Dennis was stunned. What ghosts? There is only a big moon in the sky. Hugh, did you see it wrong? I probably had an illusion. Mistook the crow for a ghost. Hugh couldn't help but wonder. Could lighting up spirituality still not allow him to see the ghost on the street? Is it because Dennis is too weak as a newly appointed spirit master? Or is it because even a spirit master can't see the ghost? Hugh hopes that there are others who can see the ghost. If there are others like him, he won't feel so lonely. At this moment, Dennis is also pondering his own thoughts. He hasn't awakened any abilities, while Hugh possesses the extraordinary ability to foresee the future. He felt both envious and jealous inwardly. He was afraid his brother would suffer, yet he was also afraid his brother would drive a Land Rover. This sentence perfectly reflects Dennis's psychology. Hugh, let's leave quickly. This place feels quite eerie. Hugh tilted his head and asked, "By the way, Dennis, how did you break the dream?" Dennis was suddenly startled. He stammered and said, Just follow the method you mentioned, Hugh. Immerse myself completely into the movie." "Then why were you touching and kissing the air?" Dennis immediately turned completely red. His face was full of shyness. "Did I even make movements?" Not only were there movements, but also soft moaning sounds. Dennis quickly interrupted. Hugh, don't say any more. I beg you, don't say it anymore. This is too embarrassing." "I was just wondering if you haven't awakened your abilities. Was there any mistake in the illusion? So I asked you what you experienced." "Then Hugh, you promise not to tell a third person. I can tell you the content of the dream." Immediately, Dennis said with a shy face, "Actually, it's nothing special." After entering the illusion, I kept my eyes closed. All I could think about was the teacher's lecture. I kept hearing the sound of a girl panting softly near my ear. She kept tempting and provoking me. Later, the teacher suddenly became eerie, emanating a cold aura. Her voice also became terrifying as she continuously murmured, "Stay with me." Immediately, her hand reached out to me. It was as cold as that of a female ghost doctor, constantly exploring my body and igniting my desire. The man forcefully pinned the teacher against the wall. Unexpectedly, the ghost flipped him over and pinned him down, as if about to devour him in one bite. The ravenous man could not suppress his inner desire. Even though the other party was a ghost, he still wanted to proceed, to fulfill his 20-year-long wish of ending his singlehood. It turned out that Dennis was in a dream demon's illusion. At this moment, he imagined himself in a school classroom, being hugged by a creepy female teacher. Dennis felt as if his entire body was being touched by countless hands, constantly teasing him. Then I suddenly remembered that Hugh mentioned diverting attention. So I started to do it myself, Dennis said, blushing. But it was only a temporary measure to divert attention. Who knew the ghost's hand would also reach for my second brother? It continuously rubbed back and forth on my second brother's neck. At one point, it was about to spray out. Hugh was speechless. He knew Dennis was very lecherous. He didn't expect the imagery in the dream to be so wild. "Then how did you respond?" Then I kept fantasizing about the ambiguous atmosphere. The originally eerie vibe also changed. It became gentle and sweet, more capable of arousing desire. Suddenly, a pair of warm, soft hands touched me. It reached out to Dennis's second brother and caressed him. The voice also turned into Faye, Dennis's classmate. "Not paying attention in class. You're going to be punished." Dennis was shocked and panicked. He didn't expect the teacher to suddenly turn into Faye. A pair of impressive breasts suddenly appeared before his eyes. The inexperienced Dennis couldn't handle such temptation. His nose bled uncontrollably. As Faye stood up, those enticing large breasts swayed up and down. Dennis's heartbeat accelerated, and his whole body became tense. Faye twisted her curvy hips in a short skirt. In front of Dennis, she painted an alluring and thrilling picture, continuously tempting him. Dennis, overwhelmed with desire, lunged directly at her. What man could withstand such a test? He grabbed Faye with both hands and pinned her against the wall. It was like a scene of a beast about to devour its prey. At this moment, Dennis suddenly remembered. Hugh said he could pinch her breasts to see if they were real. Immediately, he reached out his hand and touched them. He had been single for 20 years and had never even touched a girl's hand. Unexpectedly, today he was able to touch a girl's chest. Dennis felt as if he had discovered a new continent. He had never experienced something so wonderful. As soon as he touched it, it felt soft and smooth. He felt as if he were in a sea of silky smooth jelly, soft, moist, and elastic. Dennis couldn't help but bring his mouth closer, wanting to kiss it and see how it felt. Unexpectedly, Faye's teeth suddenly turned serrated. Dennis felt something was off when he kissed her. To Dennis's surprise, Faye suddenly became hideous and terrifying. Her originally small cherry mouth split to both sides, all the way to the roots of her ears. Dennis was so scared that he trembled and quickly retreated. Faye grabbed Dennis's hands. She turned around and pinned him against the wall. She extended her long tongue and continuously licked Dennis, as if she wanted to devour him. Dennis was already scared stiff. He thought to himself that he was definitely doomed. But on second thought, he realized he had been single for 20 years and had done nothing. If he were to just die like this, wouldn't it be too much of a waste? This is Faye we're talking about. Even if she's a ghost, I would still go for it. I'll fulfill my wish before dying. The ghost transformed. Faye looked at Dennis in horror. Who exactly is the ghost? Let go. Please let go. No. On that dark and windy night, a scene of unresolved human and ghostly emotions played out. Hugh covered his eyes, unable to look directly. No wonder the ghost eye didn't appear this time. It's probably afraid of Dennis, this ghostly genius. Dennis chuckled. Since we're all going to die anyway, why care if it's a person or a ghost? The most important thing in life is to have no regrets. Don't you agree, Hugh? The man was cabinet against the wall by the female ghost. Having been single for 20 years, his mind was already clouded by desire. He turned around and pinned the female ghost against the wall. Frightened, the female ghost burst into tears, begging for mercy. No, please! But he didn't care. He pulled off his clothes and started. After hearing about Dennis's escape from the dreamscape, Hugh couldn't bear to look directly. He turned around and walked away. I'm going home to sleep first. Call me if there's anything. Dennis was still terrified in the mysterious realm. All his colleagues were dead. He even encountered various ghosts. And you're still thinking about going home to sleep? Hugh looked calm. What? Do you still want to wait here for the security administrator to come? Dennis didn't know how to respond for a moment. He awkwardly scratched his head and laughed. Matters related to ghosts should be handled by a Taoist priest or a monk. We can't find them. Hugh spread his hands. No need to find anyone. Someone will come automatically. Since this world has ghosts and spirit masters, there must also be organizations specifically dealing with the mysterious realm. Otherwise, the world would have long been overrun by ghosts. Hugh then gave Dennis some instructions, telling him how to handle the situation if anyone came looking for them. The two of them aligned their stories and advanced to avoid any special situations from happening. Afterward, the two of them returned to their respective homes. After arriving home, Hugh saw his voluptuous and graceful wife. Honey, you're back. Have you eaten? Would you like me to cook some noodles for you? Seeing his wife as alluring and graceful as usual, Hugh was filled with joy. It felt really good to see his wife. He had already advanced his spirituality to become the legendary spirit master. He also obtained an incredibly sharp scalpel that had hunted countless ghosts. Now he finally had the strength for revenge. He answered with a smile. Honey, I'm back. His wife's expression changed instantly. Her eyes glowed with an eerie red light. Her gentle smile turned into a horrific grimace. Her voice also turned hoarse and low. You can see me, she said just as she finished speaking. A flash of silver turned into a lingering shadow and viciously slashed across his wife's fair neck. It was precisely the scalpel wielded by Hugh. During the journey home, his spirituality had already been restored. He had long been thinking of quickly taking revenge. Blood gushed from his wife's fragrant neck. His wife looked at Hugh in astonishment. I didn't expect that after being out for half a day, my husband would come back with such abilities. I saw the scalpel continuously stabbing into the wife's neck. At the same time, Hugh turned the pain capacity to the maximum. All his love for his wife turned into the scalpel, stabbing fiercely into her heart. The next second, Hugh lost consciousness. Immediately after, he opened his eyes and stood there in shock. What had just happened? How did I suddenly appear at the door of my house? Could it be that I died again? He, who possesses the ability to reset upon death, actually doesn't even know how his wife took action this time. Is this the true strength of his wife? Didn't expect that after igniting spirituality, the gap feels even larger. It seems there are differences among ghosts as well. Perhaps the gap is even larger than that between people. Hugh turned the luck. It seems revenge cannot be taken in the short term. Upon returning home again, he ignored his wife, who was striking coquettish poses beside him. Like a corporate drone working overtime until late at night, he used fatigue as an excuse to avoid fulfilling his marital duties. Hugh felt relieved that he did not go further into exploring the psychiatric hospital. The female doctor was just the weakest ghost in the mysterious realm, and she couldn't even handle herself. Not to mention there are other terrifying ghosts eyeing them covetously. Hugh had just awakened as a first-tier spirit master, and his strength was still very weak against ghosts. He decided to gather more information before making any plans. At this moment, somewhere in the city. This is a secret department unknown to the public. Global Anomalous Events Joint Investigation Bureau. In the meeting center of the Investigation Bureau, a group of people were sitting around a conference table, discussing something. At this moment, a distinguished middle-aged man was sitting at the head of the table. The director of the Investigation Bureau, Jose, was introducing a bizarre incident. I assume everyone has heard the news. Just 5 hours ago, a local real estate company, White Willow Academy, encountered a mysterious realm. The area of the mysterious realm is currently confined to the sales office. There are no signs of it spreading at the moment. These two people are the survivors who managed to escape. The man pinned the female ghost against the wall. Even though the other party's face was ferocious, he didn't let go. He used all his strength to release his desire. Because doing so can not only break the illusion, but also awaken the ability that men dream of. The escape of Hugh and another person from the mysterious realm attracted the attention of the Investigation Bureau. At this moment, Director Jose is presiding over a discussion meeting. He sent Sarah to investigate Hugh and his group. Confirm whether the two have advanced to Spirit Master, and the level of spirituality contamination. Check if they can be recruited into the Investigation Bureau. Also, assess the danger level of the mysterious realm at White Willow Academy. The next morning, Hugh was awakened by a call from Dennis. At this moment, his wife was lying on top of him. An excited voice came from the other end of the phone. Hugh, I know what my ability is now. Hugh calmly asked. What ability did you awaken? It'll give you a scare when I tell you. The reason you couldn't sense it yesterday is because it can only be activated after 11 o'clock. Moreover, it can last until 1 in the morning. Hugh put on his clothes and asked back. So what exactly is the ability? Hugh, don't be jealous when I tell you. My ability is the dream of all men in the world. You have no idea. I experimented for half the night last night. It was simply... Hugh impatiently hung up the phone. He didn't want to listen to Dennis ramble on for a long time without mentioning any capabilities. Immediately, the phone rang again. It was Dennis calling. If you keep talking so much nonsense, I'll block you, Dennis said indignantly. My ability is that after 11 o'clock, I become more handsome. My physical fitness improves significantly, and I am covered in muscles. Hugh responded calmly. Is that all? Then I'll block you. Dennis hurriedly shouted. No. I haven't finished yet. The best part is still to come. Improvement in physical fitness is just an incidental appearance. What he truly enhances is the sexual ability that all men desire. You have no idea how strong it is. Yesterday's test was absolutely astounding. It could hold a 200-pound weight. Hugh decisively hung up the phone. What kind of ability is this? Isn't he just an action movie actor? Actually, I should have thought of it earlier. Spirit Master's ability is an expression of spirituality. A person who relies on manipulating ghosts to ignite spirituality. What kind of legitimate ability could they awaken? As for why they can only use their ability at 11 o'clock. It's probably also because Dennis practices late every night. At the same time, a supercar sped into Hugh's neighborhood. A pair of jade-like feet in red stockings stepped out of the car. It was the Sarah duo from the Investigation Bureau. Did you hear their conversation? Assistant Brian nodded. From their conversation, he learned. They were all ordinary people before. At White Willow Academy, they ignited their spirituality and broke through to become spirit masters. Sarah pushed open the community gate. What about their abilities? They didn't mention Hugh's abilities. However, from what Dennis implied, they shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully, they will be strong enough. The Investigation Bureau is currently in urgent need of personnel. If Hugh's abilities are not too bad, and he can pass the spirituality test, he could be considered for joining the Investigation Bureau. What about Dennis? Speaking of Dennis, Brian stammered, not knowing where to begin. It is said that he becomes handsome at 11 o'clock in the evening. His physical fitness improves. Most importantly, his sexual ability is enhanced. Sarah looked disgusted. His abilities are quite suited for being a kept man. Trash with such filthy abilities must be strictly regulated to prevent him from using his abilities to do dirty deeds. Then the two arrived at Hugh's doorstep. Knock, knock, knock. The door was knocked on. Hugh got up and walked to the door. In his perception, there were two people standing outside. He carefully looked through the people. He saw the hot-bodied Sarah standing at the door. Hugh opened the door without any hesitation. Just as Brian was taking out his credentials to introduce himself, Hugh snatched them away. You are even slower than I imagined. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Hearing this, Sarah and the other person were startled. What do you mean? You knew we were coming? The man clearly only asked one question. Can you see my wife behind me? As a top-tier spirit master, Sarah was frightened and stunned in place. Because, in her eyes, there was nothing behind the man. Just as she was cursing where a single loser would get a wife from. The next second, a terrifying pressure swept over. Suddenly, time and space twisted. A grotesque monster appeared out of thin air. It turned out that Sarah and the others had just arrived at Hugh's house to investigate the bizarre incident at White Willow Academy. The two seated individuals kept observing Hugh, who seemed unable to see his wife. Hugh couldn't help but feel puzzled. Is he pretending not to see? It seems necessary to gather some information and then look for an opportunity to test it. Brian is making introductions. This is Investigator Sarah. I am her assistant Brian. We are here to inquire about information regarding the mysterious realm of White Willow Academy. At the same time, Sarah was also pondering that Hugh and they have met many people who escaped from the mysterious realm. But they had never seen anyone as calm as Hugh. He wasn't even surprised by their arrival. Sarah asked scrutinizingly, Did you know about the Investigation Bureau before? Hugh shook his head. I don't know. But since ghosts exist in this world without causing disturbances, it's not hard to guess that there is some kind of force maintaining order behind the scenes. Sarah's gaze turned appreciative. To be able to survive such eerie events and still think calmly,